Hello, here we are in beautiful Dartmoor National Forest in the UK at the High Heathercombe Permaculture Institute. This is just an absolutely beautiful place, very, very striking. Today we're going to talk about a couple of different things. Today we're going to talk about monocultures, and we're going to talk about microclimates. We'll get to that in just a second. So, as you can see, the surrounding hillsides, there's some rather bare spaces. And as we look down the hillside, we can see that quite a lot of the trees have been recently removed. The reason for that is because about 60 years ago, they planted what they felt would be a good cash crop of lovely trees, and they were all the same type of tree. So monoculture refers to mono, one type of tree, one type of plant. Monocultures are quite tricky and rather against the grain of nature, if you will, because when that one type of tree is attacked by a fungus or a disease or something along these lines, it will absolutely devastate all the trees. So as you can see across the valley, all those open areas in the canopy, that's where trees have also been removed. So the issue that they've been dealing with here is called sudden oak death, and it actually turns the trees to mush. They get these open cankerous sores and then eventually die, and they have roughly 100% death rate. So what happened was they came in and they removed all of the trees, whether they were sick or healthy, because it's really easy for these plants to get the illness. Sudden oak death is transferred via the air, via rain, plants brushing against each other, so pretty communicable if you ask me. So here on the hillside you can see these tall square plastic things, and in each one of these is a baby tree. And what they did was, when they came in, they realized that the monoculture is rather dangerous for the environment, in that we would just face the same issue should something else come through. So they've planted 3 different types of trees all along this hillside, the hillside across the valley as well. So monoculture, one really bad idea. You typically want to have multiple different kinds of trees because they each provide a different function in the environment. Some will pull up different nutrients than others and then drop them with their leaves, making those nutrients more bioavailable. Nutrients typically, they can come from really deep in the soil, and the roots bring them up, utilize them, and then drop them in their leaves. So one of the issues here with them having to clear cut this area is that now the windbreak that was once here is no longer here. So this hillside is quite a bit more windy, it's quite a bit colder up here. And then all the other trees that were dependent upon having that windbreak are now not here. So in the last couple of years, Dartmoor has been having an issue with trees simply falling down. And if we look at this forest up here, there's actually quite a few downed trees from the last couple of storms, because there was the other trees that they had been leaning against or that had been providing an excellent windbreak are no longer there. Bit of a bummer, yes. So monoculture, bad idea. You want to have as many plants as possible in your environment in order to provide as many different functions as possible. Lots of habitat for birds and animals, so on and so forth. So monoculture, not a good idea. The word that we really want to use and the technique we really want to employ is the same one that nature uses. It's called polyculture. So poly would refer to many. Okay, so now we're going to talk about microclimates. So micro refers to small, as opposed to macro, which is large. So our globe, the planet that we live on, could be considered a massive macroculture, but they're actually made up of tons and tons of little micro. So here we are. Okay, we're in this lovely garden. It's really quite well sheltered by the house, so it's not near as windy here. It's a bit of a sun trap. The sun's gone behind the clouds, so you can't really see just how sunny it was a few minutes ago. And the backing area to this is granite. Okay, so this was just clean granite done some time ago. And what's happened is we've had our colonizer plants, such as grasses and now this lovely, spongy, soft, bouncy moss here. And what they've done is they're bioaccumulants, in that they've helped to accumulate nutrients into this area, create a bit of soil. In subsequent seasons, they've dropped their vegetation, so they've created an area in which other plants can now thrive. And so they've created the base for these guys to come in. So isn't this gorgeous? So these plants are actually a few weeks ahead of all of their sister plants out in the moor, because they're really, really well sheltered. So you have a really lovely microclimate. So in here, because the wind isn't quite as strong, we're seeing quite a lot of bee activity. Hold that nice and still. And quite a few butterflies are also bopping around here. And so it's a really, really lovely sheltered little area. A lot warmer than the surrounding areas, quite a bit more moisture than the surrounding areas. And the bees are just absolutely loving it here. Look at this guy. See how dense that is? You've got these lovely little bees in here foraging and taking away pollen. So these guys are going to be quite a bit healthier because, now that spring is here, they actually have some available food sources. This is a bit of an issue for a lot of bees around the world, in that we typically take away like the early plant species flowers that they would rely on. Dandelion is an excellent example. So in early spring, in a lot of areas around the world, dandelion is one of the first plants that pops up. And if we then go around our yard and we spray it with, say, like Roundup or any sort of herbicide, we then kill those dandelions. And then the bees don't have those plants that they rely on for their initial shot of pollen, their initial shot of food in the springtime. So leave the dandelion. You can actually eat it. They're quite lovely for you. They're really good for you. Use the smaller leaves. The flowers can be used to make wine, which is actually really nice. So that's microclimate, and that's monoculture.